nephews and nephews, and one of my great nieces, who's 7 years old, came in and I asked her to read the book with me. And mind you, like, if you were born, like second generation Cape Verdean, the school system told our parents not to teach us Creole. So once my mom and dad passed, the language has gone pretty much. And I've been to Cape Verde twice, and very few people spoke English, and I was there by myself, and it was hard to get around. But a friend of mine was there, and he's from New Bedford also, Mark Gomes, he's a minister, so he had me come stay with the pastor, and they were our translators, and we were like little kids because we didn't know the language. So I would sit on the porch and people go by and say, "Bon dia." I'm like, "Bon dia, boa tarde." So 3 times a day I could speak Creole. That's all I knew. And there were people in the souvenir store, that Chinese people that were speaking Creole. So it was like a feeling of frustration and envy and sadness, because here were Chinese people speaking fluent Creole, and I couldn't understand it. And I was going to services where it was all in Creole, and I would have to leave because it was so emotional. And my mom had passed, and that's why I went. I've always had a desire to go to the Cape Verde Islands, and my mother and father, their grandparents came over in the 1800s. So back then, Cape Verde was a third world country, and all they knew about it was that it was drought and disease. So they had no desire to go back. But I think that as immigrants, you come in and you try to fit in. They came in, their parents were here when it was, Jim Crow laws and racism, and the immigrants were not treated well, so they tried to not, muddy the water, so to speak. And then our parents I think that we just were raised to listen to authority, and the school system, who's the supposed, body of education, told them, don't teach your children Creole so they can perfect their English. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. That's what all the families. I was born in St. Luke's and lived in the Bay Village. There was a lot of Cape Verdean families, and we were like raising the kids in the village before the phrase became popular, because it was Bay Village. You couldn't do anything wrong because there were families like door to door, going to school, coming back, that would tell your mother, whip your butt, keep you in line. But it was a good community. And when I went to Cape Verde, it was like some of the people over there on the island don't understand that although we don't speak our language, we still are Cape Verdean. And I was told I'm not Cape Verdean by the stewardess on the plane, and she was so shocked that I didn't know the language. She got the pilot. They're both sitting on the sides of me saying, why? And I'm thinking, who's flying this plane? I was scared. I had never gone out of the country. And I'm like, she told me, don't leave the island till you learn your language. And she told me it was easy. And I was there for 3.5 weeks, and I picked up a little bit, but not enough to carry on a conversation. And the last day I was there, the second time I went to teach English, and there was this white dude, Jake Cullen, and he was there because of the Peace Corps. And he married a Cape Verdean woman, and he was now teaching adult English. So I met the former Prime Minister of Cape Verde that just came here, and a lot of ministers of education and transportation, and he would just say, okay, Miss Pina's going to take over the class, and I'm scared to death because I know 10 words, But there was a sign on the door saying, do not speak Creole when you come in, and they were business, professional people, and it just was a culture shock, because all I knew was what my parents told me about Cape Verde, and they knew very little about the island. For some reason, we've lost touch, and that's really, I'm just noticing that now, questioning, why don't I have a contact? Why did they not keep in touch with their family? But they did speak Creole, and I'm the younger generation, we had 5 kids, and then there was a gap of 10 years, and we were the last 3. So the first 5 spoke Creole because my grandparents were around. They spoke only Creole, but our parents spoke about people and us in Creole, and they would say, go outside and play confiade. So I knew confiade and fastant. Confiade show up, and fastant to be in pain in the butt. So when I went, when I was leaving the last time, this lady was at a party, and it was a young girl that worked. She was the receptionist at the school, and she hosted a dinner, and her parents were really nice. But her aunt came in, and she's like talking in Creole, and asked me something, and I said, "Oh, no, papi, no, papi," and she said, "Oh, I'm a straw," or something like that, and just the tone. I said, "What did she say?" And her niece said, "I don't want to tell you it's not good." I said, "It's okay, honey. I heard it before. I need to know what this means." And she said, "That means lazy. That's what they call Cape Verdean Americans because they didn't learn their language." And I said, "Oh, my heart hurts," you know. And that, between that and the Chinese people and the white dudes speaking Creole and me not, this all started like just eating at my heart. So when I came back, I did a lot of research, and I couldn't find a lot. And this was like 8-9 years ago. And nothing was in English when I did find it. But I had met a lot of connections over there. So the pastor's kids helped me to like interpret or translate anything I needed. And I did a course during the pandemic. I had nothing better to do than teach a Creole course. And one of my best friends was teasing me and saying, "How could you teach a course in a language you don't even know?" I said, "Because there's a lot of me. I am my audience." And it was a wonderful experience because there were young kids like 25 and 30 from Florida, California, Rhode Island. And I kept saying, my tag was, "I will teach you more than confiade and fastant." And then one girl was from Florida, and she was from the island. And I said, "Honey, you can teach the class. You should be teaching me." And she's like, "I came here at 5. I don't speak it, so when I go back, they make fun of me." And I'm like, this got to stop. You know, we need to come together, you know. So I ended up teaching the class. It was 10 weeks. It was beautiful. I made them speak, and I taught them colors and numbers and greetings, and they wanted to keep going. And I'm like, I am a teacher of 20 years. I can't do this because I don't know the structure of the language, so I don't want to teach it to you incorrectly. So I stopped, and shortly after that, I did a class with Sue Duarte, and she does one-on-one lessons. And she's awesome. She taught me so much about the language. She works, you know, with the people of Alupec, is it Alupec? Alupec. They're trying to formalize the language, but I'm like just trying to get words in the sentence. And people have asked me, "Why did you do this translation?" Sue happens to be from Santiago, you know, and that's actually what, you know, the dialect that Alupec is using. So I'm thankful because the book won't become, you know, moot once the language is formalized, hopefully. But when I came back, my illustrator is Adi, and Adi is from Ghana. He lives in the UK. He made the characters for me for my class 8 years ago. And I was looking at a book that he did, and I said, "Hey, you stole my characters," because he does Yoruba, Swahili, and African languages. And I said, "I want to take your format and put my characters in it and rewrite the lines so that they fit." And he has different stories, and I'm like, "Yeah, I want introductions. When I went to the restaurant, I couldn't order food, you know, emergencies and all that." So there's 14 or 13 stories, and they're all like conversational Creole. And I keep telling people, like, you know, it's a good thing you're buying the book, but we need to get together and read the book together, because even myself, I need accountability because, you know, we are so busy. And now that we do have resources coming out, there's a lot of people doing online classes again, you know, and coming out with books. So it's now we can't be lazy. Now we have resources. We just have to put in the time and effort. And when I go back to Cape Verde, I'm going to find that lady and speak to her in Creole. But Sue is wonderful. And the best part of the book is the audio. There's an audio file on the welcome page. And I met a young couple in Praia. And they're in their 20s or 30s. And they were the nicest people because, they speak English and Creole, and they took direction so well because they were recording the dialogue. All the story is in there, the whole story, and then we cut it up for individual words. And his name is Gilberto Fernandez, and his wife is Carmen, and he actually is a rap producer, and I didn't know that. I found him on a creative website called Fiverr. But I would say, Gilberto, come closer to the mic. I hear an echo. And your wife her sound is good, but tell her to slow down because when people like me are trying to learn a language, we need to hear the words. And he's like, okay, dear, okay. And they did a wonderful job, So it's really, when I'm at the stoplight, I laugh because I'm like, I've never heard anything in Creole like this, And also I have he's one of his rappers. He does videos. I play that in the car, and they send me the English because I told them we need, not only do we need an English translation, we need the Creole and the English, so that we can pick up those words. So it's a step. I think it's a good resource and a base to get enough to start using the language. And it's such a good feeling because now when I talk to my daughters, my sister's going to Cape Verde tomorrow, as a matter of fact, her and her daughter, and we've been meeting and talking in Creole, and it is so funny to try to get them to speak, because I'm like, okay, when you get there, they're going to say bonoit, but bon dia is good morning, boa tarde, and bonoit, and you just repeat it back. And she goes, okay, and she's writing things down, and we did a Zoom for that too. And then I said, and then they'll say more que busta, that means how are you? She goes, how do you say that? I'm like, more que busta. I said, are you reading the book? It's in the book. Mm-hmm. You can listen to it. She goes, I am. And she said, and then what do I say? And it's so funny because she ended up saying, "Está bon, está dir true." So it's more words than we've heard all our life that we're exchanging on the phones and building, exactly. Building and grabbing back some of that language, because when the bottom line is the colonizers stole it from us. It's not that our parents didn't like Cape Verde; they just were surviving. And I just had my first book signing in Charlotte, and there's a woman that is, the founder of the Cape Verdes of Carolina. She's a professor in Charlotte, and she's from the island, and we had a really good talk. And I get apprehensive and anxious meeting people from the island thinking they're going to think I'm lazy. Mm-hmm. I found Cape Verdeans next door to me and had Munchup on Saturday. Wow. Because of the internet, somebody asked the question, where's the Cape Verdeans in Carolina? And I said, I'm in Fayetteville. There's 6 families here. And we finally met Saturday, and one of the ladies she made her cachupa. I say Munchup because in New Bedford we call it Munchup. And when I went to the islands, I'm thinking it was a dialect, but I'm thinking now it's more like from New Bedford. But one lady did say she was from 2 different islands, so she said, oh, some people do say that, but it's very rare. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I was seeing when people along until I spoke to my son-in-law, and he was born and raised there. Kachupa is my choice now. Like every time I mention it, say Kachupa.
Yeah, because in the book I had a disagreement with Sue. We had a little, tiff, because because the book is geared to New Bedford. My experience, it has my sister's names, my mother, my father, New Bedford, Brava, where most of my grandparents on both sides are from Brava. I married a Pina, the Pena. He's from Fogo. So, it's all inclusive, and it's really like something that I wanted to leave to my family, my girls, and my granddaughter. And just hearing my niece, I said, yeah, repeat after Titi. And the first chapter is introduction. So I said, in English, and then Creole. And I'm like, hi, how are you? She goes, I am fine. And I'm like, okay, now in Creole. So she's 7 years old. And I said, Moriki Busta. And she said, En está bon. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, whoa, And then she said, Ibo. And I'm like, she picked it up. And I'm like, you know more words than your aunt did at 60 in Creole. So, I mean, if you get the book, it's a good, like I said, it's a good resource. I have the Nas Papaya by Gonzalez. I have that book. I've been posting. I have a Facebook, Pina and Bean Learn Creole. And all the resources that I found, I've been posting them on, the page just so you can.
I'm actually going to share some of that also.
Okay.
When your page, because I think if all of us share that information, resources, it's just that much better.
It is, because even when I went to have my kachupa this Saturday, the 3 of the girls bought books, and one of them had a son, and he's in the 5th grade, and it was a different dialect. They were from Mandela, and she was explaining the differences, and it's learning, and I think we're at that point. I know that us older people have our little differences, but the young kids, they don't have that. They're really open to share, like my audio people. Like I will ask them, like, send me the words to that song. They're so happy to share. And when I was there, the people that didn't speak English, they honor that you try to speak to them, and they'll help you out. You use a lot of sign language, and and try to get your message across. But I mean, a lot of it is just not knowing. I don't want to say ignorance, because I know my parents played Creole music every weekend. My mother was the president of the ladies auxiliary at the Cape Verdean Club. What is it called down the south end? I can't even remember. But my father was a treasurer. We always met, and we had foods, and we had the culture. When I went to Cape Verde, I noticed similarities, like the flowers my father grew in the backyard, the hibiscus and the vegetable gardens, they were all there. But one thing that I have to say is I was really ignorant, because I remember asking my father about a song, and it said something about a capitatina narua. And I'm like, Daddy, what does that mean? And he said, it means the goat is on the roof. And I'm like, why is the goat on the roof? And he's like, be quiet and listen to the music, So we couldn't disrupt the music, but it was there every Sunday. And when I went to that dinner and we were dancing, I knew all the words to the song. I had no idea what they meant. But, so sabe, I knew all the songs. And so there's a lot of similarities. And I think even the lady that is the head of the Cape Verdeans, she's part of a book that's coming out soon about women, Cape Verdean women from the islands, from America, from Europe, and those differences. And I'm glad that it's opening up doors and we're having uncomfortable conversations, because we need each other,
Yeah. Yes.
There was a woman that came and picked me up, because I Googled and on LinkedIn found some teachers, and she took me to breakfast, and her name is Zita Vieira. She graduated from Bridgewater and went back to Cape Verde and started the Ellie Schools, which is English and language learning. And I'm on Facebook, and I'm like, I know that girl. She was at the Falmouth Country Club. Cape Verdean Club last month. And she was starting those schools like 8 years ago, and she took me to the school. She had like no kids at the time she was setting up, and now she has over 200 kids.
Wow.
And she was another person that helped me. So I said, I'm going to send you these books, because they're in, this bilingual. It's in both English and Kriolu. The Kriolu's on top, the English is on the bottom. And I sent her a book for her class because she's connecting Falmouth schools and Bridgewater schools. And I think that's so wonderful because the kids need language to empower them, because a lot of Europeans have brought up Cape Verde and Chinese people, you know, and they have the young Cape Verdean beautiful women and young men in front, but they don't speak English. So another the pastor was here in America that I stayed with. I gave him the book because he used to work at the Ministry of Tourism, and I said, can you review this book, and I want to get this to the hotel so they can learn, hello, how are you, my name is whatever, in English. And he goes, okay, it's going to be my favorite comic book, which was insulting because it's not a comic book. It's an illustrated resource, educational resource. But he called me the next day, and it was a good compliment because he's from the island. He's from Praia. And he said, I'm so proud of you. He said, I was here with you when you could just about say bon dia. You were afraid to speak, and you did this. He said, this is a good book. And he's going to bring it to the Ministry of Tourism. And I'm like, wow, that would be great, you know.
That's a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
I hope that it's good when you kind of interact individually and get that rapport with someone, especially where that's in a position that could really push up to another level.
Right.
And I just hope that he follows through.
Right.
And does that.
I'll do it. I will follow through because I have friends that are sponsoring. You know, I told them I wanted to send them to classes, so they're going to help me and sponsor a class so I can send books there. Hopefully I can go over there and meet. And like when I go to New Bedford, I want to do a class, you know, just get people like excited about learning the language. So I'll be doing like grab your book and read with me while I'm there. I'll be there from June 15th until July 15th. I'll be there a whole month. And I'll be at the festivals, both the New Bedford and the Providence. I'll be at Buy Black, New Bedford. I'll be at the Falmouth Cape Verdean Club on Juneteenth. I was married to a man from Falmouth, so I'm doing all my backtracking from OLOA. I'll be at OLOA, you know. I'll be down, you know, at the park, Monty's, and I'll be all over. And I always go every 5th of July.
Okay. Someone's here on that. I'm trying to do the best they can. Yeah.
Hi, Sylvia.
Hold on 1 second. Can you give the audience that you're going to be in?
Well, I think he was talking to me. I will be in New Bedford on June, let's see, it's a Saturday, so I think it's the 16th at the Roach House on County Street. They have a Buy Black. Justine Pereira is the woman that organizes it, and it's just a good representation of black owned products. So I'll be there and setting up a booth, come out and say hello. And then on that Monday I'll be in Falmouth at the Cape Verdean Club, and then on the 1st I'll be at New Bedford, the Independence Celebration, and OLOA on the Sunday, and the CB Museum is also on that same Sunday, the 2nd.
Okay. If anything that you're here, and you're free to make the stage talk to me. We can have our lives there.
Okay. Be careful what you ask for. I'll start singing Alicia Keys, I'll see your mic, and start doing karaoke.
Well, Doreen, I just wanted to push a book can in every way possible.
Yeah.
The one thing that I want to do is donate your book to the main library. So I purchased two already. It's the third one, so I'm submitted to the
Oh, thank
library.
you. Appreciate it. Yeah, they should. And they should have them available because maybe people can't afford to buy them. And that way, if they go to the library in groups, they can read it. And if they can get a computer just to get the audio, once you get there's a web address, an HTTPS address, and when you put it in a browser, it will send you to the folder, so you can download the file, and then you have that on your phone or wherever you downloaded your computer, and that will help. I think that because and when I was in New Bedford, I had to leave because I couldn't get a job. A permanent job. They gave me permanent sub. As soon as it got to close to 30 days, they would change my assignment. And so I came down. I'm in North Carolina to get experience, but my kids got invested in the community, so I've been here 23 years. But I have never taught my own, I've been in the public school and taught my own, but not Cape Verdean children. And I think that, because New Bedford is a big Cape Verdean community, that this would be a great book for them to, donate to the schools where there are, because it could be both for kids that are coming in from Cape Verde, because it's in English. Like I said, it's in English and Creole, and it will give them language that they need to survive in school or just to, help them when they come to understand the basic conversations. So
True. My granddaughter is already started the book when he died. So,
all right. I'm going to get, what I'll do? I will get the kids. I bet you the kids will come. I told my sister and her daughter that they're getting a notice that they flunked my class because they were so busy they didn't make the Mondays, and they're leaving tomorrow, and we only got to chapter 3. So they're like, I'm sorry. I said, well, when you come back, you can re-enroll, but you're getting an F because you didn't meet the attendance requirement. But I don't have no requirement. I just love learning. I donated a book to my the guy that does my lawn. He has a granddaughter, and she's 6 years old, and she just likes to read. So our summer project is a Zoom meet, and she's going to come over and read the book with me. So that's
awesome.
I've been a kindergarten teacher for 20 years. I love children, and I love teaching reading, and that's why I thought, I'm like, okay, I'm a teacher, and I got my master's in instructional design and technology. I can build classes, And then when I actually went and the people are coming in the classes, I'm like, what are you doing? But, and I mean, for the most part, it's been positive feedback. Just people thanking me and saying, that, oh, there's Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Sherry, I was trying to finish the book before you went to Cape Verde, and it just was a lot more than I ever could have anticipated. But everything happens, like everything in your life, like you plan things, and like they say, just if you want to see God, try to do, do things your own way. But everything, it's been like, a culmination of my education, my Cape Verdeanism, my technology. Sherry, I'll be there. You be there, I'll be there. I have to Zoom. Just let me know what day, because I would love to do classes. I would love.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you gotta learn it. I gotta learn it. I mean, you're way ahead of.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that. Like when I get back, I'll start working. I know people are, on their summer breaks or everything. So I'm retired. This is my project. So I will definitely post it on. I don't know if people know that Pina and Bean is me. Like I have a Pina and Bean Facebook, and I feel like I'm doubling things, and I'm. I need to connect them somehow.
Have it that way.
Yeah.
Because you can you
You
can
can
add a
add
to
to
your
your
Pina
Pina
and
and
Bean
Bean
page
where
where
they
they
talk
talk
just
just
to
to
be
be
a
a
book.
book.
Okay.
And
Compared to your profile
where
where
they
they
can
can
be
be
talk,
talk,
where
where
we
we
can
can
talk
talk
to
to
you
you
as
as
an
an
author
author
and
and
how
how
you
you
went
went
through
through
the
the
process.
process.
So
So
I'm
I'm
glad you
glad you
have it.
have it.
I
I
think
think
it's
it's
very
very
important
important
because
because you
you
can
can have
have
your
your
own
own
private
private
dialogue
dialogue
by
by
adding a
adding a
chat
chat
to
to
your
your
book
book
page.
page.
Right, right. And I mean, I am not. I used to write poetry, but I don't like writing. I hated writing in school. I was math. I taught math, and but it just came because it is like a dialogue. It's not like a book. I don't know how people like you write books because I would write like a million words and not be able to pull it back in.
Mm-hmm.
So I admire writers, and it's funny because like when the book first came out, Joe Morta asked me if I would do a book signing. Ooh, I'll be on it, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have to be in front of people. I don't like to be in front of. And my sister Colleen's like, what did you think when you wrote a book? You're an author. You're supposed to sign the books. I'm like, I don't want to do that. She's like, okay, we'll practice doing a book signing. When you get home. But it's something I'm passionate about, and I did my first one in. It was a small audience in Charlotte, but it was just nice to meet people. A lot of them had New Bedford connections, and they're like, "Oh, do you know this one?" And when they would say a certain name, I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute," because I've been gone for a long time, but.
Mm-hmm.
I'll call my sisters and they're like, yeah, you know them, that's your cousin. And I'm like, oops. Everybody's our cousin.
Yeah, we
I guess
guess
we're all
we're all
related.
related, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Doreen,
Doreen, I really appreciate this.
Okay.
I would like to have you on once more live
on the
on the
Really
Really
Chubby
Chubby podcast here in the studios on WMB1 Radio.
Okay, and Sherry's going to come and read and share
Yeah.
her learning.
We
We
gotta
gotta
catch
catch
her
her
on the
on
beach
the
too.
too.
Yes, because she's over there on the beach in Florida. I got to go visit her. I'm
She's
going to crash Florida.
turning another day to Montero.
She's
She's
under
under that sun every day.
Yeah.
But
All
all
right,
right, Doreen, keep in touch.
I
Anything
will.
I can do, I'm
I'm
trolling your pages. I'm trying to share whatever I can for
You have found some secret pictures and put them up there. I'm like, where did he get this from? One was from a podcast from my master's program. And all right, Sherry, be careful. You all be careful. Don't even mention food in the beach. I'll be there. But yeah, that was that I graduated in 2015, so I was talking back then about I have to develop technology or like learning resources for Cape Verdeans. So I kind of knew, but who knew that it would be a book? But it worked out because my illustrator does publishing, so he helped a lot. And then he's the one who said, hey, do you use Fiverr? There's a guy that speaks Creole. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Yeah.
Well,
I'm very proud of you. And I'm even prouder because the Village Kid
Yes, Bay
opened another
Village.
bookshelf. And that's what we have to do to show that just because you come from the projects, stop. Your dreams, your goals, and stop putting each other in black boxes. We can achieve anything we want.
That's right. It's just like, and it's like, a lot of times when you do things, and I was a realtor, that didn't work out for me because after teaching 5-year-olds all day long and then showing this is the kitchen, this is the bathroom, I was like, and then they went and buy the house, it was really hot. So I'm like, I don't even like that. People said, you should model. So I tried modeling, and they're like, what's your lips? I'm like, what's your own lips, you know, because I was a basketball player. I was such a tomboy. And then, like, the realtor, they said I look like a realtor, not a teacher. Everybody didn't think I was a teacher, but I ended up staying there. But, you know, you go through everything you're learning. You never do things in vain. And I preach that with my daughters, because my youngest daughter's an architect. My oldest daughter was a 4-year pre-med scholarship, and she ended up being a poet, you know. So your courses, you just follow them and go with your passion. And as long as you are a giving person, and you listen to your heart or your spiritual guide, then you'll be fine. Because I cannot say this was not God, because I kept saying, what is wrong with me? I do not know. I don't want to write a book. I don't want to go, you know. But it came. Everything that I needed was given to me, even when I didn't want it, you know. So, and all those people from Cape Verde, when I didn't talk, they all came in handy with this project. So there's a lot of hands across the ocean on this book. And it's a beautiful experience. If you get to go to Cape Verde, there are no goats in Praia on the roof. I got off the plane thinking there was going to be goats on the roof, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so ignorant. You know, there's not even a hoopty in sight. They got better cars than mine, you know, and I was shocked. But we only hear what, you know, and especially a long time ago, just like in our histories, you know, they showed us like Africans in the jungle. And I remember being at Boston College, and there was a princess that was coming from Africa, and we all put on dashikis to welcome her, and we looked like a fool because she was in Gucci and Fendi, and her father owned like stores on Rodeo Drive, and she's looking at us like, are you for real? You know. But we weren't taught anything about Africa, you know, and Africa has some beautiful places to visit, you know, and they have a lot of Africans that have money there. You know, watch The Rich and African, the show on Netflix, you'll see.
So true. Let's see. Well, Green, I will keep in touch with you. I'm so proud of this podcast because you're on it and you're talking about your book. And I will be a fan of this art.
Yes, and my book is, I forgot to say the name of it. This is my proof copy. It's not even a book, but it's Pina and Being Learn Creole, and it's conversational Cape Verdean Creole for everyone. It was supposed to be for children, but I'm not a child and I need it, so it's for everyone. And the K in Creole, the Krilu, signifies it's from the island, so that's why I use that spelling. And it's been I thank you for letting me come on the show, and I will be home. I come home once a year, and usually I just stay pretty much to my family because I don't see them all year, but I'll be there a month, so I'll be hanging out in New Bedford, going to a lot of Cape Verdean restaurants that I keep seeing on, you know, Cape Verde American and all this, you know, these Cape Verdean websites, and the food looks awesome, so.
Hopefully you'll take every conversation you have of your book, which I think is very important when people give you feedback about it, and share it. If you don't have a YouTube page, I can share it on mine. All those videos, I share it on my page. It's very to hear what other people are saying about your magnificent book.
Yes. I do have a Pina and Being Learn Creole YouTube that I started doing the classes, you know, through YouTube, but I didn't keep it up, so I might have to resurrect it. But it's stories, it's stories. We need, I mean, that's one thing good about this, you know, fast life right now with all the cameras and whatever, the best thing is that it's recording history. You know, like, can you imagine having your great grandparents saying, I didn't teach you Creole because you didn't sit down. Don't blame me. You know, you didn't want to listen, because I didn't want to listen. And so that could have been part of it. You know, I can't blame my parents or my grandparents.
I hear you. I think that happened in a lot of families.
Yeah, because we were confiad, see? Playing basketball and going down the park, smoking Newports.
All good, and please be proud of what you do. You have an amazing family, and I'm going to support you as much as I can the day I die.
Well, that's good to know. But I will definitely keep in touch, and I'll look you up when I get back home. And Sherry, if you're coming home, hook up with me. And I saw Sylvia's name. I will definitely say hello to as many people as I can, because I'll have a little bit more time.
Awesome. I appreciate joining us podcast.
Well, I'm glad to meet you, and I didn't know you were doing all that, and you were author, because after you started looking at my Facebook, I started looking at yours, and I'm like, oh, he's an author. I wish I knew you were author before all this, because I had a lot of, I can't even write an author bio. I'm like, oh, I don't want to write about myself. What do you put down, you know? Because people keep asking me for that. I'm like, no, I'm not a writer.
I'm gonna go with the Laners Writers Club. In November. They have offices.
Oh, good. Somebody else is, Amelia Santos, she's from New Bedford. She is doing a writing workshop coming. I don't know where she's in New York, but just before I came on here, she was talking about she's going to do a writer's workshop.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. A lot of people doing stuff. That's good to see. So that's another thing, like, although Cape Verdean Americans may have lost their language, look what they're doing. Like, just in my family alone, I have a nephew that is a base commander. You know, my daughter's an architect. My other daughter's a poet. I mean, I have nurses, lawyers, all kinds of nieces, like the third generation and beyond. Goodness gracious, they're just blowing it out, you know. They're just making, I mean, all those sacrifices, and language happen to be one of them. We're not in vain, you know, because we're contributing to the economy of America, you know. And now we're going back, because they didn't have a plane back there where our parents could go and, you know, fly. So, different time.
So true.
So, I think that it's good, like, the people have that desire to go back home and, you know, go and see where you're from. And don't let nobody tell you you're not Cape Verdean because you don't know your language, because you are Cape Verdean. Your DNA started in Africa, and your ancestors were brought to the Cape Verde Islands, and then they came here. So you are Cape Verdean. And Cape Verdeans come in a multitude of faces, you know, looks and stuff, but we're unique and we're talented. Be proud. Learn your language. If you get the book, I want you to read. And I was going to put a question or a sentence a day and ask a question and just say, post your answer, or post a video, an audio of you saying this, just to get people to make sure they're staying on task. Because I know myself, I bought a lot of books that are sitting on my bookshelf, you know, just sitting there. But we'll get together. We'll have a class when I'm there. At the beach. At the band club. Bring your drink and read with me. That will be really fun.
Anything you need in your company. So if you give me a call, I'll go ahead and meet you.
Alrighty. I will definitely be popping up on Facebook and letting everybody know where I am. So come out and just say hello, you know. So I can get my New Bedford feel and come back to North Carolina. you know, where there's 5 of us here, but we all are meeting together.
Awesome. Awesome.
Alrighty, well, thank
All right,
you.
all
I
right,
appreciate
Doreen,
you
yeah.
inviting me on. You too. Have a
Thank
good
you,
week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
It's an amazing guest, amazing guest. I am so proud of her, and I hope she continues on with her quest, her dream, and get out there and buy that book, Pina and Bean, Learn Creole. It's definitely an amazing accomplishment, and I'm very, very proud of it. Just like she is and her family is. And she has an amazing family. They're all doing so many things that if I wanted to have a podcast on the Pina family, it would probably cover the whole month, whole year. Actually, they're doing amazing things. I'm very proud of that family. So, all right, everyone, I'm going to end with my favorite song, my intro to the Really Charlie podcast, written by Peter Walker, also known as Lionel Walker. All right, y'all. I'll continue with the music on WMB1 Radio. And this is the end of the Really Charlie podcast. Take care. God bless.
It's the Really Charlie podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Bump into your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Bump into your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass.